Kia ora team, and welcome to episode 6 of YARNS with Beef and Matt, powered by LSKD.
Yeah.
How good. I'm Beef.
I'm Matt.
And today we have a former semi-professional rugby player, four-time fittest man in Australia, alongside 4 CrossFit Games appearances, coming in 5th in 2019. He is a multiple business owner with brands such as Le Boys and Fibre Protein. From triathlons to Ironmans to powerlifting events, this is the busiest guy in CrossFit right now. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome plant-based LSKD athlete, Mr. James Newbury.
Welcome to the show, mate. Hey, thank you so much for doing this for us, man.
Oh, mate, my pleasure. And honestly, just I never get such a good rap like that. So you guys you smashed it anyway. Thanks, Beef. I appreciate that.
Cheers, bro. I might even throw the old one in and we'll just run with it.
Oh, we can make that work. Don't worry about it. I do this all the time.
Like researching for this episode, we're just going through everything.
You know more about me than me.
Yeah.
How good.
Man. How you been, bro? How's your life looking these days?
Honestly, I was asked this question yesterday, actually on a potty, and I have to say, and actually, I went to an LSKD event last night, which was the live viewing of their new doco, and it's Don't Wait, and it's freaking wild. But I was asked the same question, and honestly, I have actually never been better in my entire life. Awesome, I just can't complain about a single thing. Wake up every day super stoked, very, very grateful to be in this position. I'm having fun training, I'm having fun working, I'm having fun with my friends. There are lots of cool things I'm looking forward to. But every day that I wake up and I'm doing something, I'm just stoked to be able to do it and to get after it. And yeah, I never thought I would be as fired up to get after my days as much as I am at the moment.
No, perfect. That's awesome to hear, man.
That's such a good place to be, bro. That's awesome.
It's good. Honestly, it's really, really good. And hopefully there's a way that I can help other people figure out where this place is for them in their own little path, because I know how good it does feel and it's freaking sick.
Yeah, that's awesome. Whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm on the Gold Coast.
Yep.
So I'm living on the Goldie now. I live at Broadbeach. I moved up here about a year ago. I spent a bit of time in Geelong. And then most of my time previous to that was Adelaide. The better part of 20 years in Adelaide, and a couple of little short stints of a year here and there at Brisbane and Sydney. But I was also born in New South Wales too. So kind of been all over the shop.
Yeah. Oh, awesome, man. Hey, so the way we like to start these is, obviously you're an amazing CrossFit athlete, and we do a bit of CrossFit. But before CrossFit, we want to know the James Newbury growing up. Where'd you grow up? You know, some ins and outs, your sporting life before CrossFit. Take it away.
Totally. So the first sport I ever played, I played soccer with my brother for about 3 years, from about ages 4 through 7. I was no good at all. I was terrible, never scored a goal, kind of just walked around the field and had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
There were a couple of really good players on the team, and as kids, you kind of just have a crack, but I never really got so into it. And so I wasn't super fired up by sport, I guess, through ages 4 through 7. And then my dad said, we should go do little athletics. And I was just like, sounds cool. So dad took all the kids, including my brothers and sisters. I'm one of 5 kids. So took us all down to little athletics when we moved from New South Wales to Adelaide. And I was 7 at the time, 7 or 8. I think I was 7. And got stuck in our little athletics. Became very, very fond of little A's. I ended up being pretty good as a all-rounder. I was decent at shot put, high jump, long jump, was good at like the 100, 200s, 400s, and then kind of took to that. And that's kind of what started me on my journey with sport, was being, like decent for a young kid at little athletics. And that kind of made me quite competitive. Also, having an older brother who's only 11 months older than me made things really interesting, because you'd always be, within the realm of racing each other and, trying to beat each other with, arm wrestles. And, we fought all the time as kids. Yeah. So we used to get stuck into each other a fair bit until we got to about 13. And then we kind of just tape it off and end up becoming mates instead. Yeah. And then from there, I moved into rugby league. Obviously, even still these days, like one of the most, fiercest skill sets to have is speed on the field. So as a junior, I was fast for my age. Everyone eventually caught up to me and ended up being just as quick as what I was. But as a kid, as a junior, I was fairly fast. So I adapted to rugby pretty good, because in Adelaide, the rugby league level down there was terrible.
Oh, okay.
And there wasn't many fast kids playing. So I could kind of just get the ball and just run around people and go score tries. And if you could do that in a game, then, you know, you were pretty handy to have, especially if you need points on the board.
Yeah.
Then also, you know, when you start getting praise for things that you're doing well in, I kind of just, you know, gravitated to doing those things more, and played rugby league. So I'd go to state carnivals for little athletics, but then I'd also go and play state level for rugby league for South Australia. And then I did that for, you know, through ages 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And then after I finished high school, I came up and moved to Queensland. But throughout that whole period, I was playing rugby league at a state level, and then in the 15s, ended up qualifying or making they called it back in the day the Combined Affiliated States Australian Team,
right?
Which is basically Australia had two divisions, so they had their A pool and their B pool, and South Australia was part of B pool, so including Victoria, Western Australia, Northern Territory. New South Wales had a federation or a group of schools there, the combined independent schools that were part of B pool as well, and also ACT for the junior grades.
Yeah.
In the higher grades, they didn't. So part of B pool, they'll choose an Australian team there, and then out of Queensland, and then a couple of divisions in New South Wales, and then ACT would be A pool, and that would be like the A class Australian team. So I made a couple of those teams, played at the AIS, and then I was always very interested in dabbling in multiple sports as a kid. I grew up on the beach. So I'd do basically little athletics on the beach, which was surf life saving. They call it nippers, but it was like I did it in my teens. So that was something that I really enjoyed. So being in the ocean, surfing most of the time, doing athletics on a weekend, training footy, most other nights, and then just getting around the gym with my mates when we were 13, 14, 15. That was kind of what I enjoyed doing growing up. And then, from there, I kind of moved into going around. All I wanted to do was play in the NRL. So I kind of moved around. And just as soon as high school was finished, I packed my car, drove to Queensland, said, "See you, Mum. I'm going to go try and play some footy." And did that, moved up here, played in Brizzy for a year, then moved down to Sydney, played there for a year. And then that's when I kind of stumbled upon CrossFit at 20, when I was 20, turning 21. Yeah. And ended up, again, same thing. Kind of adapted to CrossFit rather quickly. I already had built up a bunch of skills and skill sets already that I had kind of been honing. So, I'd already had a decent base of strength. I loved running. I loved being aerobic at the same time. I loved being powerful and jumping. And I used to enjoy the training process. I just loved the training, and, CrossFit was basically that. So then when I realized you could compete doing this thing, I was like, hell yeah, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So the rest is history.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because you started in 2011.
2011, yep.
And then your first regionals was 2012. So you got stuck in pretty quickly in the competitive side of things,
Yeah, and I guess the difference between now and then is that you could qualify if you were someone who was already naturally fairly athletic and be doing athletic things and being exposed to a broad range of physical tasks and modalities of fitness. You could kind of just grasp the basics and then already be fairly handy on the CrossFit floor. These days, you would need to adapt much quicker. But again, these days you also have so much exposure outside of just a CrossFit gym environment to be exposed to where you need to be, how fast you need to be, how strong you need to be. And I think some of that really does play a role in how good you get. And what I mean by that is, for instance, back then, you couldn't just really jump on YouTube in 2011 and just watch a bunch of CrossFit. You could do a little bit, but it wasn't a big thing to do. Whereas these days, you can jump on Netflix, you can see CrossFit, you can jump on YouTube. You've got a gym you've got probably 2 or 3 gyms within 15 minutes of you. So you can be exposed to a lot of different stuff and a lot of different knowledge and education on how, and then you can get a really good grasp on how good you need to be to compete.
Yeah.
And I remember sometimes all it takes is seeing somebody else do something to then unlock another level of your own fitness. And I remember vividly watching this in 2014. I had, I think, a 1RM of 125 kilos on an overhead squat. I think that was my PR at the time. I remember there was the CrossFit Games workout straight after the swim, and it was a 1RM overhead squat. And these guys are doing like 150, 155 kilos. And I was like, get out of town. Like, how is that even a thing? I walked into the gym the next day just after seeing them do it. It was like, there's no way I can be this far off. And that was after just missing out on the CrossFit Games.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at it thinking, man, I should be closer than that. And just by watching them do it, I think I got like a 20 kilo power and I overhead squatted like 145 just because these guys on TV were doing it. I was like, well, if they can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah.
So I think the progression nowadays is like people can step into the gym without being exposed to CrossFit and already be, say, almost like games level back in 2012,
yeah, 100%.
Today.
Yeah.
So fitness is definitely more broad.
So much more exposure now, and it's growing too. It's good.
Yeah, agree, 100%.
But yeah, like you're 2011, so that's 12 years in the sport.
Yeah,
I'm relatively new.
Yeah.
I reckon late 2020.
Yeah,
2020.
Oh, awesome.
Well,
how good.
So I own an affiliate here in town, and yeah, that's how we met. He walked out, and I was the coach. So
sick.
Yeah, and then
he was laughing at my squat depth, but
yeah, we got there, man.
But I think it was 2020. I sort of started coming, and I was dabbling, but it wasn't until 2021 I actually came with him to the Torian Pro, and relatively new to the sport. But your name was one that I learned very fast because he was frothing over the likes of you, Baden, Royce, like all the boys on the floor. So
who wouldn't, man?
But that's sick. I love it.
Yeah, but similar thing. Like I'd seen the movies and stuff, the docos and whatnot, but it was so much different being in the crowd, watching you do what you do. It was just super inspiring. And I come home and got my ass into gear and started getting semi-decent and then got injured.
Oh, well, that's always something. That's always something you deal with too. It's just like the really cool thing about these competitions is that they do inspire you to go back. And even for myself and even for, Royce and Beto and the boys that are out there throwing down, when you finish a Torian Pro or a Down Under Championships or a regionals back in the day, we would still come away from those competitions so fired up to get back into training that they just give you this invigoration on this new, almost like a new lease on this sport that you've already been in for 10 years. And so every time I walk away from these events, I was like, oh, I'm so fired up to do some training. And, I have other priorities in my life these days as well, that do probably inhibit how much I do want to train or how much I do want to put towards training. I still love training just as much. Actually, to be honest, I probably love it even more now, just because now it's a thing that is it's not something that is so vitally crucial on, either me earning an income or me, finding happiness. Yeah. It's more so just a thing that keeps me solid. It's a functional foundation piece of my day to day. So I probably enjoy it a little bit more now, but these competitions fire you up. And if they inspire you, man, take that inspiration and run with it as long as you can until the next one.
It's so hard to walk out a pat rafter and just not be energized and just, want to be a part of it,
Yeah, yep, totally. I get you.
Yeah, that's such a good, and Torian's the best example of it. I mean, they do it the best. That's just the way it is. I think Bailey Martin said he reckons it's better than the games, So
I agree. I actually do. To be honest, I do agree with that.
Yeah. It's unreal to hear, man. Little Oceania.
Just on that though, you've been to Carson and Madison. Were you before Carson?
No. But the good thing about where I jumped in, and I was very close to cracking it in 2014, but I'm almost glad that it didn't pan out that way, because I got a few extra years of really honing. By that time, in 2014, I thought I've honed, I'm good, I'm sweet, send me to the games. I want it all, give it to me now. And it's the universe kind of gives it to you when you really need it. And I really needed another 2 years of base building to be at a level where I could even just go in the mix. I think I wouldn't have come last if I went in 2014. I think I would have been semi-competitive for sure. I would have had some good events and whatnot, but I needed an extra couple of years. But the good thing about when I got into it and my rookie debut being in 2016 is that we got to experience not only Carson and the StubHub Center, but also we got flown out to San Jose and we ended up going out and doing the ranch day. So
that's right.
we got to experience being at the original ranch of where they first held the first CrossFit Games and Carson. And then the next year we were in Madison. So I got to kind of touch on everything. Plus, the other cool thing about that is that they still ran the CrossFit Invitational, which is also one of my highlight competitions of my entire career that I love too. So I got to kind of experience all of the ins and outs, and now also having, feather in the cap for the demo team in 2021. I've kind of had a bit of a vision of all of the things that have gone on.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's good you mentioned the Invitational. I was going to bring it up. I had to show him today because he had never heard of it, and I was like, I forget.
They got to bring it back.
I forget that I got some age on this guy, but man, they got to bring it back. I want to talk about that. When they got rid of the media team and they changed the whole landscape, going forward, do you think they need to bring stuff like the Invitational back? Because that's a real spectator version of it.
100% they do. They need to run that stuff back right now, yesterday, because that wasn't just a fantastic way for people to engage with the sport at the furthest point away from the CrossFit Games as possible. But it was also a really good way for people to be exposed to team competition. And sometimes that's the greatest way to get people competing, because the entry level into teams competition is a little bit more of an easier, smaller pill to swallow than the one jumping straight into indie. So it's a great exposure for team competition, great exposure for the brand itself. And it's, for the athletes, it's just a wild time. It's such an experience. To be honest, the Melbourne Invitational is probably the most fun I've ever had at competition.
Yeah. Oh, you guys smoked that one. It was good. We're halfway through that one.
It was rad. Such a rad day. And it's just epic, man. There's nothing. And the good thing about it goes for 3 hours. You're in, you're out. You pump these workouts out. You're working for your teammates, and you always dig deep. And there was some dark places I had to go to try and survive through some of those things, trying to hang with the likes of Cara and Tia and Robbie. They were super tough. And plus for some of those ones as well, I hadn't exactly, put in the most training leading up to those things. So I had to, the pain in my legs was pretty bad.
Well, 2016 or 17, you were coach as well, eh?
Yeah.
So was someone else supposed to be in your place for that year, or?
Yeah, that was Ricky. Yeah. So Ricky was supposed to be in. And so I was coaching.
Yep.
Yeah. And then after he, didn't make it through, they just said, hey, they said, do you want to jump in and be part of the team too? And I hadn't done a day of training honestly since the games. I just kind of took a break, and I said, yeah, I'm just going to take a break for a bit. And I hadn't done any training, and I literally got off the phone after having a chat with, I can't remember who even called me. One of the boys, maybe Pat Sherwood or someone called me.
Yeah.
And said, do you want to jump in? And I was like, yep, I'll jump in. But just FYI, I'm not fit, but I'll do it. And then I remember literally just closing my phone, thinking to myself, you better go train. I went straight down to bed.
Yeah, just quickly, if you haven't watched that, go back and watch the 2017.
Go back to 2011. Go back to USA versus the world. Watch them all, man. They're so fucking cool. Yeah.
It was quite cool actually seeing a young Fikowski, young Valna, young yourself, even Cara Webb when she was Cara Webb, and Tia, the storm that was going to come, and no one knew.
Exactly. They did Madrid. They did, we were in Toronto. There were a couple of other really sick locations that they went to. But yeah, they were such a vibe. And then Chad McKay, when he was on the world team, so sick, man.
Oh, that world team was just the whole thing, man. It's funny, on Tia's first invitational, she comes out with Cara Webb, and the commentary team don't even mention her. It's so funny.
Nah.
They're all like, "Oh, Cara Webb, she's really good for this team," and obviously she is. Don't get me wrong, but it's just funny. It's like that no one saw what was coming from Tia, man. Yeah.
Nah, that's it. She was like dark horse.
Yeah.
And hey, have you seen her training as hard as she is at the moment? Does
Oh,
that
it's
excite you
unreal.
guys or what?
Postpartum. It's ridiculous.
Even while she was pregnant, I was like, "This girl's
Yeah,
insane."
she's getting after it, man.
Yeah.
Like everyone needs to be on the lookout for her next year, I think.
She's not done with the sport. She's not done.
Nah,
But anyway,
I love it.
It'd be good this year that someone else can get the title, but after that, I don't know.
It'll be short-lived. Whoever takes it. Sorry.
Yeah, man.
We were having a bit of a laugh today, actually, at the handstand walk event and how they've just stacked the plates, like real grassroots, eh? And yeah, it's quite funny to look back on how things were back then, for me at least, anyway. But how do you see the sport of CrossFit growing at the moment?
Look, I think we're in a really fascinating stage or evolution of CrossFit, because I think a lot of the people that that we kind of grew up doing it with all got into it with a background in some type of other competitive sport. It was rugby, or it was football, or track, or swimming, or gymnastics, or weightlifting. And nowadays there are kids coming through that have only been exposed to CrossFit. They were basically born in the CrossFit gym. They have spent the better part of their years of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 in the CrossFit gym when they first start getting into sport, and all they know is that. So they're going to be an absolute beast coming onto the scene that have crazy numbers, that have been exposed to weightlifting just as long as weightlifters have been exposed to basic gymnastics just as long as gymnasts, and have been dabbling in multiple facets of every type of fitness. They're going to be wild. They're going to be crazy good. The only thing I fear is that they won't be good at ball sports, but hey, if you can throw down and you're just a beast in every other facet, that's cool too. But yeah, hopefully they do still hold true to the original CrossFit methodology, was also to play sport. So I think if they can still be exposed to balls and nature in some type of degree, whether it's in the surf or whether it's out running trails or whatever it may be, I think that still is kind of crucial for development.
Oh, 100%. We're talking with Danny Ford, and just the difference in landscape from, especially when I first started, you did an on-ramp course, did 3 or 4 sessions, could last longer, but nowadays you can just walk in a gym, sign a bit of paper, and you're in the next class. And you know, some coaches are good, some coaches aren't. It's just such a different experience. And like you said there, like these kids are coming through and they don't want to play the ball sports. They just want to do CrossFit. It's definitely a lot different.
And it's funny you say that. I vividly remember in 2011, I walked into the gym and I met the coach who was actually the regionals director, Mick Shaw. And he was teaching me how to coach, which was great because I got exposure from, one of OGs in Australia, which is super cool and unique for me. But it also taught me some really good lessons on ways to conduct classes, also ways to have people on board and on ramp and do their foundations or their fundamentals. I remember a guy walked into the gym and he walked in, he goes, heard about this CrossFit thing, want to give it a go. And Mick just looked at him and was like, cool, you got to do this thing. It's called fundamentals. It's, we're going to teach you how to overhead squat. We're going to teach you how to wall ball. We're going to teach you how to move in the gym. So when you do get involved in the classes, you can conduct the classes to the best of your ability. It also helps to decrease injury risk. And it also helps the coaches when we're trying to navigate a large class to get through the workout as efficiently as possible. And you're also going to get the most out of it and progress as fast as possible. He's like, I don't want to do that. He goes, I just want to start today. And Mick said, okay, cool. Come out here and just show me how to do it all and you're good to go. And so he sat there and he goes, mate, give me an overhead squat, gave him a PVC. And this dude, I'm sitting there watching this thing go down. And this is like 35-year-old Mick Shaw or 36-year-old Mick Shaw, however old he was at the time. And this fella who's probably like early 30s and, super jacked. He was actually really jacked. And he goes, yeah, give me an overhead squat. And he goes, well, can you just show me what it is first? Because I don't know what it is, but I'll be able to do it. So Mick puts the PVC over his head, does beautiful overhead squat, gives it to this guy. This guy could not for the life of him do this overhead squat. He goes, nah, mate, you're not jumping into my class like that. And he goes, you have to do fundamentals. And the dude did fundamentals.
Yeah.
I think I actually took him for his fundamentals.
Oh, fucking yeah. It's like today, like I'll be coaching a class, and you're always going to get one of them. Like newbie, been doing it for a week, and he sees the kipping pull-ups, and you just go in and it's like, hey mate, like let's start with some beat swings.
Yep.
And like you can't even get him on the bar, and he's like, nah, I'll just do it. And you're like, bro, like just calm down. We'll
Take
build
your
to
time.
it, you know.
Yeah.
It
A slow and smooth progression is a fast
Yeah.
progression. Is always told. And it is, it's like you see this, you see people in the gym doing these really cool movements and all you want to do is get them.
Yeah.
But getting those foundational points are so crucial because it's like a handful of sessions for someone who's already got some athletic ability. You'll be doing beautiful kipping pull-ups, but the amount of people that I see that are at competition doing butterfly pull-ups, and if you ask them to do me a kipping pull-up, they still can't do them. It's wild.
It's crazy.
Wild. And they're the foundations of every other swing. They're the foundations of every other kipping movement that we need for our muscle up, for our bar muscle up, for our toes to bar. These are the foundational points. Like I'll still do kipping pull-ups in workouts and leave butterflies to the wayside because I know how good it is for my muscle ups. And it's just, it's wild to see.
Even like single unders. And I just can't believe at the games last year, the amount of people that couldn't. I was like, come on, guys. Like it's a freaking single under, man. And if you can't, I say this to everyone at the gym now, and if they're listening, they can attest to it. If you can double under, but you can't single under, you're not a very good athlete. That's all it is, man.
Yeah, honestly, I agree. You should be able to perform. Yeah, the virtuosity is part of CrossFit, and that's being able to do all the common things really well. So if you're missing out on the fundamental basics, I think that also comes down to the people jumping in and doing the coaching. And for a coach, I find that you just want the praise to a degree, but you also want the validation from the member that walks into the gym that this coach has helped me get so far in just 1 week or one session. I walked into the gym and I can already butterfly pull up after 1 week of CrossFit. My coach is amazing. Sometimes the coach wants that because they're also fighting all the other gyms that are opening up around them that are going to be doing that. And if they walk into the gym and they say, hey, I'm going to get you doing kipping pull-ups. I'm going to actually get you to do strict pull-ups. And when you can do a beautiful set of 5 or 6 strict pull-ups with hollow body, then I will allow you to attempt your kipping pull-up. And they say, screw that. I'll go down the road and I'll learn how to butterfly next week. It's just like, I'm trying to, it's about how you articulate it and how you create a relationship with that athlete. So it's a tough game, but it's also, you also got to do what's right for the athlete too, which is making sure that they stay injury free.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. So on the competitive side of CrossFit, going forward for you, what's some ambitions going forward? Is it something you are putting, in a spotlight, making the games next year, or is it you just take it as it comes? And
my mindset towards what I look for in sport these days has changed in terms of what I feel is fires me up, or what I feel gets the fire going in my belly. And at the moment, it's not about going back to the games to compete. It's just about having as much fun with sport as I can. And that's not saying no, not saying I definitely don't want to go back, or I definitely do want to go back. It's more so just saying I just want to have fun with my training, and whatever that looks like on a weekly basis will be what it will be. And if that allows me to qualify to go to Torian, great. If it allows me to qualify to go to the games, great. But it is nothing like what I used to do. What I do now is essentially, I'll give you a rundown of what I do these days.
Yeah, go for it.
Just because I was competing, as you guys know, I was competing for a long time, trying to make it to the games. It took me 5 years to make it, then took me another 4 years to finally get a spot that I was, satisfied with at the games. And then I came, and then every year since then, even 2019, it was 2018 even, to be honest, when I took a break after the 2017 CrossFit Games and then got asked to do the demo team, the invitational, during that period, I didn't want to train at all. I took 5 months off and I didn't even want to compete in 2018. I was so burned out. I was, I was trying to run my gym. I was trying to compete. I was trying to be everything to everyone. And I was kind of dropping the ball and getting really burnt out with what I was doing. I wasn't having a super fun time opening my program. It's a bit of a lonely journey, an indie athlete, because you need to sacrifice everything, especially if you want to be number one in the world. You either have to be living a dual path with someone that gets you and is there for you, which I luckily enough did have, but that person, was also doing their own thing. For like Tia and Shane, they're on this journey together every day in, day out, running this thing. And, that's what it requires. It's like, I would prefer, if I was to go back and do it again, it's not to say I have any regrets, but owning a gym at the same time made it very difficult. Whereas I would like to just walk into a place that I didn't have to mop the floors and put the rigs up and change this and buy this and make sure the toilets were clean and make sure rosters were done and make sure like the gym is evolving and getting better. That takes a lot of energy, as you know, being a gym owner, and then trying to piece that in and be like, I also want to be number one in the world at this sport that requires so much of you. So I got to the point where I was kind of burned after not getting a great result in 2017. Then 2018 rolls around, and I, just kind of a week before the Open started, I started training. So I took about a 5 to 6 month break.
Right,
like I didn't do any training. I trained for that invitational team, got home, thought that would fire me up. And I hadn't done training since the CrossFit Games until the invitational, until I got that call. And I said to myself, I better go down and do some training. So I did 5 days of training, did the invitational, came home, same thing, stopped training, thought, okay, how am I going to get back into training? And just never did. Week before the Open arrives in 2018. And my partner at the time called Shane and said, Shane, James is not training. The Open is next week. He loved training with Tia for the Invitational. Can I send him up to Gladstone to train with Tia? And he was like, yeah, send him up. So I flew up there, and that fired me up. It took me out of my environment, something that was stressing me out to the nth degree. I wasn't motivated by training. I would walk into the CrossFit gym, look around my own gym, look around, think, nah, I don't want to do pull-ups. I don't want to do squats. I don't want to do anything, and turn around and walk out and go home.
Yeah.
And I did that for such a long time. Yeah. And then I got stuck back into it, ended up having the best regionals I'd ever have in 2018. It was almost one of my flawless regionals. I was just on point within a 7-8 week period of being in Gladstone. I went from like pretty much the most untrained I'd been, but much more reset, to the fittest I'd ever been come regionals in May of 2018. Then, I roll into 2019 and same thing. I was kind of just, it's not that I didn't want to train or didn't want to go back to the games or anything like that. I just said, you know what, I'm going to put the hold on it, and, it'll happen if it happens. Glad it did. 2019 rolls around, start training in about January. I think December maybe, or I think I approached Michelle Laton because Tia and Shane had moved to America. Mm-hmm. And so I needed another training program to jump on, because Shane was only doing Tia's program at that time, and trying to get us to adapt to the sanctional timeframes, which is all different on the calendar, was going to be too hard. So I kind of just took it as it comes and did 2019. And then since then, I kind of just every year, I just take it as it comes, and whatever is firing me up the most, I'll just roll with that. And at the moment, I'm doing 4 days a week, 5:30 a.m. class at the local CrossFit gym, CrossFit Raw Iron. Just roll in there, do whatever's on the program. Don't do any extras. I just walk in, do the class, walk out. And then maybe 2 days a week, if I'm lucky, 2 days. Otherwise, just one, I'll do a 10K run. That's basically my week of training. And that's kind of what it is. And then if someone says to me, hey, on a Sunday, do you want to go do a bodybuilding session at the local EMF? I'll go do that. If someone says, hey, do you want to go do a half marathon along the boardwalk on Saturday afternoon? Yeah, cool. I'll go do that. If someone asks me if they want to go and do another session at a different style of gym, like just a class at another gym, a Pilates session, whatever it may be. If someone's asking me to do something, I'm like, yeah, cool. Sounds good. So that's basically how I roll training at the moment. And the funny thing about this is there's just doing that randomly whenever I can. I do travel interstate a lot. Yep. So whenever I go and travel, I'll just jump into another box. I'll find a box that's local. I'll just randomly rock up and I'll just do the class.
Yeah.
But all my numbers recently have just been going through the roof, and I have just no idea why. Like, it's crazy. Like, I'm not doing anything different. I'm just super happy. The only difference is I just feel like I'm just so fired up for my days that when I walk into the gym and there's a group of guys and girls around that are fired up to throw down, I just get like, it takes me back to 2011 where I was just so fired up about training. I don't have to worry about, are the assault bikes working in the gym? Are the rowers being cleaned or anything like that? I just walk in with not a care in the world. I chuck my belt on, jump in for the squats, and I'm PRing squats, and I'm PRing deadlifts, and I'm PRing push presses. And this is all-time PR. This is not just me right now. This is like from when I was training full-time, like 5 hours a day. Like, I'm beating numbers from those days, which is wild.
Yeah.
Because you got a PB snatch at Dorian, eh?
I didn't. Yeah, that was a PB platform snatch. Yeah, I've never hit that in competition before.
That's Torian for you.
Yeah. So it kind of goes to show that. Well, I definitely think I'm much more fresh on a regular basis. Back when I was training so much, I'm always beat down. You're always fighting against some type of fatigue. So in terms of the question, which I've just turned into a big long rabbit hole, essentially, if what I do day to day at the moment, fiber takes up all my time. I really want to make sure that the customer service that I'm giving to people, the education I'm giving to people, the products that I'm putting out, and then the things in and around that's just one facet of fiber. The other part is I want to help educate people on how to optimize the way that they can perform day in, day out. And that's just, through good food, good sleep, good people, training aspects. And if I can help do that as well as deliver a really cool product at the same time, then bonus. So that takes up most of my time. And at the moment where like I'm launching new products and I really want to make sure things don't get, slipped between the cracks. So most of my focus goes there. And same thing for this year, like at Torian, I was running a stand there and I wanted to make sure things were in check. And I kind of said to myself that, my priority of putting training first every day for 365 is not where I'm at this stage of my life anymore. Yeah. So yes, whilst it is a big factor, it's not my be all and end all. And, if next year rolls around and, there's maybe more people on board with fiber that are taking some of the load, and I have, an extra, 3 or 4 afternoons where I can get a double day in, maybe I do. Maybe I jump in and I do some extra training. But at the moment, my 6 to 7 hours, or probably, my 6-ish hours of training per week is enough, rather than what I was doing before, which was like 21 or 20 hours of training a week or something.
Yeah, I think that's really awesome. And I think other people out there could take a lot away from that. Like, there's a lot of people that put so much pressure on their competitive training, and like you can just see on their faces that they're not loving life, man. And I think you do need to have a certain level of like clarity in your mind for the programming to actually work. Because sometimes you just go in there, you do what's on the program, you leave, and you actually achieved fuck all. Like, it's true.
Yeah. It's true. No, you hit the nail on the head. There are a lot of people that go in and faff around for 3 hours doing their big long ass program. And man, I get so much out of just doing a class, just getting it, just knuckling down and getting done what's written on the program to the best of my ability in that 1 hour. And, I definitely think like my body has the capability and the capacity to get fitter than what I was back in, say, 2019 at, say, my best ever, CrossFit Games. I do think my body has it in it if it wanted to do it, or if I allowed it to do it. But I also don't want to sacrifice, things that are firing me up just as much as competing was, which is, creating a really cool business and also having, really cool interactions with people. These days I get to travel and meet a lot more people. Yeah. I get to talk and chat and connect. And I love that so much. Whereas when I was competing, I was getting around and traveling, but I couldn't ever get off my mind what my job was. And my job was to be the best athlete. And whenever you're sitting in conversation, no matter how present you want to be, you're not always super present. You're just like, I need to be training. I need to be training. I need to be recovering. I'm wasting energy. Like, energy is leaking out of me at the moment. I need to go sit down. I need to go find a gym. I need to get stuck into my program. I still got, a D, E, F, G left on my program. I got to get it done. And it's like 5 p.m. Holy crap. you know, so
Yeah.
it played this game, and that's kind of the way I had to be to get it done. I had to be obsessive about doing it so nothing ever got forgotten about. And that's kind of what I'm doing with the business now. But, you know, I do understand that there are foundational points in my day that I must control if I want the business to go well. And that's honing sleep, making sure I'm hanging around with good people on a regular basis. I don't hang around with people that, you know, bring me down or, you know, are just, not great. I also don't really sacrifice on my nutrition. I make sure that's always pretty in check. You know, I'm not like super strict. I don't count my calories or anything like that. Not to say it's a bad thing, but I'm not eating junk food every day. Essentially, I'm having good whole food, and just making sure I'm honing that side of things. But then I'm also honing my training and making sure that I'm getting in a minimum requirement, which for me is, you know, basically what I'm doing now. 4 days a week of CrossFit training, and then getting out and doing some things I enjoy, which is running.
Yeah, that's sick. I know you want to move on, but you said before, like if someone rings you and they want to do something, you do it. I noticed you've linked up with Fergus Crawley recently.
Yeah.
Now, if he rings you, do you ignore that phone call?
Mate, no, he said to me, we're on a call next week, but he said to me, mate, have you ever done like an ultra? And I was like, no, I've never done an ultra, man. And he's just like, dude, he goes, would you ever be keen on doing like 100-miler? And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. And he's like, have you ever done anything over a 42K, like a marathon? I was like, nah. And he goes, don't. He goes, just don't do anything in between. Don't do 100K. Don't do a 60K. Don't do an 80K. Just come and do 100 miles. Do 160Ks with me. Go straight from 42 to 160. I was like, okay, sounds great.
Far out.
He's next level, except at the end, he's going to have like a 300 kg bar you got to deadlift for the finish.
Well, we've got some things in the works that will be coming up that'll be pretty fun for people to have a crack at. So yeah, we'll see. There are some fun things in the lineup, which is why I'm so excited, which is all this stuff that has been on my mind for the better part of 10 years. I can actually go and do now, because I'm an adult and I have adult money, and I'm not a kid anymore. And I can go and do like these fun things. And like, there was one thing that I would love to do, and that's like do an Ironman and a big heavy deadlift all in one day, and see how quick you can go on an Ironman and pull a heavy dead and all that type of stuff. And these are all things that, you know, I could have never really done whilst competing, trying to be number one in the world. And, you know, these things fire me up too. And, you know, the way that I look at it is like, I've been to the games before. It was good fun, had a blast in 2019, not so much in the other years, but I wouldn't change what I've done for the world, but there's now for me another journey that I must kind of go on. And, you know, if the way that the planets align, like this year, I didn't put much extra effort into dedicating more time to training. And I don't think I really could have. I don't think I had the bandwidth to do another session in the day, also be running fiber, also be running the boys, also, you know, trying to be, you know, true to my supporters, my sponsors and my social media obligations, and do everything to the best of my ability with what I had. So, you know, the thing that I had to sacrifice was that extra training session during the day. Like that was something that just I couldn't do, because then if I added that in, everything else suffered. And then I was kind of useless on all landscapes, I guess you would call them. And that's not something that I was prepared to sacrifice. I was happy with whatever that type of effort to training achieved me at Torian. But maybe next year what I do is, you know, maybe tweak a couple of things here and there, and maybe add in an extra 3 or 4 afternoons of double days, and maybe make the session shorter. They don't have to be 3 hours. Maybe they're just 45 minutes of something for an extra exposure session. And then maybe I also try and figure out a way that I don't have to be working the booth at Torian for the entire time, because, you know, that recovery in between events is crucial. And, you know, I'll jet from finishing competition floor, still breathing heavy, straight back up to the fiber booth and, you know, talking about protein within 10 minutes. So it was fun, and I like that, and I like hectic, and I like craziness. But in terms of trying to get the best result in the competition floor, it's not ideal.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough, man.
Yeah, that's unreal. No, I didn't want to move on. I actually wanted to go back. It was quite a cool tangent you went on before, and I just wanted to say that it's both crazy and impressive. I think Rossi and Gilly calls it general physical preparedness.
Oh, GPP.
Yeah, GPP.
Yeah. The level that you can just, you know, someone calls you up and they're like, keen on a half marathon? You're like, yeah, bro. That's unreal, bro.
Yeah. Look, and it's definitely doable. And I think Fergus and I talked about this a fair bit, and the interference effect. And yeah, whilst I think it definitely has a role to play, um, I guess I'm grateful that I have I'm grateful that I have the ability to do it. I just want to do these things. Like they're not things that I have to like force myself to do. I was talking with Jason from LSKD last night, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to do a half Ironman?" And I was like, "Yeah, sounds good. When do you want to do it?" And he goes, "Oh, September." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Do you want to like just not train for it and just go do it?" And he's like, "Yeah, okay, cool. I just don't have time to train for it." And he's just like, "Yeah, we'll get around." I was like, "Yeah, look, we could probably get around in 5 hours. That'll be fine. If we get around in 5 hours, it's kind of cool. And just have a day of it." And yeah, we'll see how we go. As long as it doesn't clash with anything else I got going on, I think I might have a competition that day. But yeah, we'll see. That sounds like a fun thing to do and a good memory in the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, speaking on things that you're just doing because you like to do it, the boys, how'd you get into swimwear, mate?
So Le Boys is a funny story. Khan and I were actually in Copenhagen, and we had just come from Marseille in France. We were going around doing a little tour through Europe, doing some competitions after the games of 2021. And we kept getting asked about the Le Boys that we were wearing, and we got the budgies that we were wearing, and we were wearing them for the Butchers Classic in Copenhagen. Khan wore them out for Marseille Throwdown. And then we were getting like lots of comments about it, and we were walking through the airport, and I just like said to Khan, "Hey, you want to do our own budgie smugglers?" And he was just like, "Yeah, that's a cool idea." And I was like, "I'm serious." I said, "I will pull the trigger on this so hard." And he's just like, "No, I'm keen." I was like, "Let's call it Le Boys," because that was like kind of the tagline of the trip.
Yeah.
Like one of the French fellas kept saying Le Boys are on. Every time he saw us somewhere,
Right,
wherever we were going, he would be like, the boys are on, the boys are on.
Yeah.
And I just said to Khan, let's call it Le Boys and let's make our own like dickies. And he's just like, okay, done. So I went home and found some contacts, made some moves, and just said, yeah, let's do it. And we can just make them super funky, make them a little bit out there. And we're just, and then Khan came up with the tagline, be more you. And it's just like, it's just embracing anyone on any level to wear what they want when they want. And, just, it's just cool. It's just a cool thing to do. And it's also something for Khan and I to kind of connect on. We became even closer again. We've been competing against each other since 2012.
Yeah.
And it's just something for us to, it's no pressure for us to do it. It's just, it's a bit of work here and there. But Khan's got his own things going on. I've got my own things going on. Louis, who's just jumped aboard with the boys, he's now fully into it, which has fired us both up even more. And it's just a really cool way for us to connect with the community and connect with people that want to be a part of, a group of people that just are supporting each other, just essentially just to be who they are and pat them on the back when they need it.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
It's exactly that too. It's pretty out there from even your guys like photo shoots and the marketing and
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
like that.
We'll get around. We love a good time. We love a good time.
When you were over at Waterpalooza, that photo shoot looked nuts.
Oh, dude, it was so much fun. It was and I've been waiting to do one of those photo shoots with Dennis for so long. It's such a vibe. It's just, these are like the reason why I do most of these things these days, whether it's business stuff or competing or whatever it is, it's literally just for the memories and the experience. If I can create a cool memory that I'll, smile about in 20 years time or 30 years time, great, done deal. Like that's just all I'm after.
That's Dennis Samsonov, eh?
Yeah.
The fittest wizard. If you guys don't, he's
check
cool.
him out.
Check him out. He's out there.
Freaking laugh. He's honestly such a good dude.
Yeah, he's I've been following for a while, and it like started off real fun, and then like got even funner, and you're like, this guy's
he's full on. He loves it, but he's a good dude. Like, and I think some of the cool stuff that we've got going on with the boys, it just again, it opens us up to not only creating something that Khan and I can share together with Louis now, but then also just another way that we can connect with an audience and, maybe inspire someone to just come out of their shell a little bit, have some fun, put some smiles on some faces and just have a good time. Because if we're not getting excited and we're not having fun, what's the whole point of anything we're doing? Like day to day, that's why I wake up. I just wake up for the fun, wake up for the excitement, and everything I'm doing is exciting. So that's just another facet of it. And, there'll be more of these things popping up here and there, and I'll get an idea and be like, oh, that sounds like a lot of fun, let's do it.
Yeah.
Even Guerrero jumping on doing a bit of content, that's pretty crack up. I don't know if you've seen it.
No.
He'll go and interview people, and he's like just gets them to jump in a pair of boys and do a bit of a photo shoot just
Oh,
on the
really?
Yeah,
off the
he's
cuff. Eh?
so rad, man. It's so sick. He is such a gem. Like I'm
Yeah.
seeing him this Friday, and I just can't wait to catch up. He's just such a good guy, and he brings the energy, and he brings the smiles. He's just all over it. He's so perfect for the brand.
Yeah.
He will rock it. He'll rocket the boys to a whole new level just by having him on board.
I didn't know there was another level, but hey, I'm excited for it.
There's another level.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Wait until you see what's coming. There's so many levels to come.
Oh, we're looking forward to it. But
Oh,
yeah,
good.
I commend you on that side of you, bro. It's like I've noticed you're very. Hope you don't get offended me saying, but sort of against the grain. So some would
Yeah,
say you're very
yeah.
out there, and you're not afraid to express yourself. And I think that's really important in like today's society, because like I grew up with it. Like even like the nails and stuff. If I did that at my house, unfortunately, I would have got a lot of shit for it, you know. And it's like,
Yeah.
and it's a bit stink that it's frowned upon. But I love that you yourself, Khan, Guerrero, have no problem just being yourself and enjoying yourself and having a good time.
Yeah, that's it. Look, at the end of the day, I think a lot of people probably see it as a little bit, odd or weird, but like I'm super comfortable with my own sexuality. Like I have no qualms there and at expressing myself the way that I want to. And I think, and not everyone is, I guess, so confident in that. But this is probably a really cool way for me to connect with someone who's maybe not so confident. It's a really good, having these done is a really good conversation starter as well. And I guess a lot of people might see, top CrossFitters in the space is maybe somewhat intimidating. And all I want to do is like crush that. If I can crush that and I can open up a conversation with someone and we can have a chat, happy to have a chat with anyone on any level, anytime. I'll even be late to it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like I'll be going onto a plane. I'll be late to my bloody plane flight just because I'm having a chat.
Yeah.
It's like probably not so good. I've missed so many plane flights. I'm honestly not just because of chatting, but just me being me. But I think that's crucial. It's a really good way to open up conversation and make people feel comfortable.
Yeah. I can definitely attest to that, even doing this podcast. Like I'm 31 and I've wanted to do this for about 2 years now. And I just was so afraid that like people were like, oh, you think you're big time. Oh, you got a podcast. And so I just fucking never did it. And I'm like, nah, fuck, I want to do it. And then,
yeah.
But like, fucking, who cares, man? Like, it's just a podcast.
Everyone that we've messaged that we're like fully expecting either a scene or just no response at all. And for you to even message us back, and we're just like, what the?
Nah, I love it. We should get on and get it done for sure. Like it's I think that's the biggest thing that people these days fall into the trap of. And I'll give it credit to people that just go and do it for sure. That's fantastic. But people that, maybe are hesitant, towards, being judged or being rejected or, for whatever it is, or failing at something, these are some of the risks that hopefully I can inspire some people to take, because again, we're all, no matter what level the business is on, everyone is just having a crack. And that's what I've found out so much these days, is that even businesses that are doing, huge numbers, huge revenue, they're creating cool community projects. At the end of the day, they're run by either a person or a group of people that are all just having a crack. And if it can inspire some people to have a crack more, have a crack, fail a couple of times. It's not the end of the world. Like, we're here to have fun and be excited. Let's just get after it.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Anyway, we're back. We're live. You were saying you are coming to New Zealand soon this year, which is cool. Talk us a bit through that.
Yeah, so I'm going to come over and jump into the cluster 3s again. I had such a blast there, but the thing that also really entices me, that it gives me an opportunity to get back down to Queenstown again and go do some snowboarding. So like one of my favorite things to do outside of like competing is I love to surf, love to snowboard, mountain bike, hike, and that type of stuff. So if I can get out and get some snowboarding done this year, it's a freaking bonus. So
Queenstown's the site for it, man.
It's freaking epic, dude. Like, I can't believe it. Took my first trip there last year. And, out of all the things that I enjoy doing, it's usually adrenaline type sports, whether it's racing motorbikes or, again, surfing or bungee or skydiving. Haven't been to Queenstown.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so went there last year and had a blast.
Yeah, it's got it all.
You hit the bungee?
Yeah, straight up. I did it by myself. I was like, I'm going. So I just went out there by myself, and then I took the plunge. It was freaking sick.
Yeah. How good, man. How good. Yeah. We've actually met you We met you up at Redemption last year.
Yeah, sick. Yeah,
Yeah.
Redemption was rad.
I was talking to Royce. Sorry. I fobbed you and I went to Royce. Sorry, bro.
That's okay. I would fob myself and go to Royce too.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was pretty cool how you did the programming for Redemption, and that was unreal event. Cluster and the team, they do awesome. But are you heavily involved with NZ CrossFit Champs?
NZ, so NZ CrossFit Champs obviously coming up. But yeah, I'm going to be in and out in NZ probably, I reckon, at least 2 times this year. So I'm going to try and get out there and be involved as much as I possibly can, and whatever I can do to help support it. I love coming over. And the cool thing I think about the NZ community is that when you run a comp, people are there with bells on, which I freaking love. Everyone gets around it. Everyone's super friendly and nice, and I'll be there as much as I possibly can.
Wicked, man. What is your involvement with the CrossFit? Are you doing a bit of programming or going to jump in and have a crack?
Yeah. So at the moment, I'm doing a bit of programming for that, bit of programming for any cluster events that are coming up, bit of programming for some of the all-star events as well. But typically, as much as I can possibly commit is usually at least the programming. And then if I can be there in some capacity with fiber as well, I'll support it in that way too. And then if I do have the ability to throw down as well, there are a couple of comps early this year and late last year where I would go over, I would maybe run a couple of clinics leading up to it, like a couple of like community workouts, which I think we might be doing too. I'll run a couple of community workouts and then jump in, maybe have a bit of a throwdown or do an event. Then I'll do that too. But yeah, typically it's programming, which I do enjoy to a degree. I used to have a programming business back in the day, but it also just takes up a lot of time. And I want to make sure that the people who are jumping in the program are getting the best. And sometimes when you're so far stretched, you can't give them what you want. So I try and consolidate my program into doing events. And if I can do events, then it's, just giving back to the community in a different way.
Oh, that's cool, man. How did you get involved with, are you good friends with Dean, or is there?
So Dean, I actually met Dean through an Under Armour connection. We were going over, they were supported by UA, and I was a UA athlete at the time. And he said, "Oh, would you be interested in coming over to NZ?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds sick." He goes, "Do you want to do some programming for the event? You want to come over? Do you want to do some, announcing of the event? Just be there and, get around it, give it a bit of hype." And I was like, absolutely. So that's how I basically met Dean. But I also competed next to Dean. We were in the same, we were lane next to each other in 2021, I believe, Torian Pro. We were next to each other in a muscle up workout. I think it was workout 1 maybe. And, so we actually shared the floor a couple of times. Cool. And then since then I've just become better and better friends with this dude. Like, the dude's maniac. He's just like so busy all the time. Like, he's just freaking wild, which is, he's cut from, like, I think we're cut from the same cloth. It's just like, let's go do that. Sounds great. Yeah. And he's just like, "Hey man, you want to do this?" I'm just like, "Yeah, cool. Do you want to do this?" He's like, "Yeah."
Yeah. You were chatting with Danny a few weeks ago now, and she told us that he's over on the Gold Coast building up Cluster GC.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I actually saw him just the other day. We did we're doing game time together. We're going to be partnership in game time.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Oh, sick, man.
What's game time?
I don't know, man.
I'm out of the loop.
It's another comp. It's another partner comp. So it's a comp up here in Redland Bay. It's actually a pretty big comp. It's like at the Nissan Arena, up near Pat Rafter Arena.
Okay.
And it's just a big throwdown for the Redland Bay Capalaba area. And he's like, "Do you want to do team?" He was like, "Yeah, sounds good."
That's not a bad team, bro.
Yeah, we'll have some fun for sure. Yeah.
Oh, good stuff, man.
I was listening to you on Coffee Pods and Wads as well, and I want to give you the chance to talk to our listeners as well. You're a plant-based athlete.
Yeah, that's it.
When did you make the switch there, and sort of why?
So I switched over to being 100% plant-based in 2019. Reason being is, I just didn't want to cause any extra harm. The idea was that if I could live my life comfortably, happily, healthily, without having to, pay someone or do it myself, cause harm to another animal, and, cause pain, then I just figured, why not? Why wouldn't I do that? And, that kind of sat with me for quite some time. I sat on it for the better part of 5 years, I think, just contemplating. And every time it came to my head, I'll just kind of block it out and just think, no, don't do it. It might affect your performance, I guess selfishly. And then it just got to the point where I was like, you know what? at a point in my life where, you know, this matters more to me, causing less pain, less suffering to another living being than, you know, if it affects my deadlift by 30 kilos. You know, I didn't care.
Yeah.
I just thought, you know what, that's a pretty rough thing for me to think about. And I'm not a pushy plant-based athlete. I'm not a pushy vegan, anything like that. I would never tell anyone any way to eat. I do this solely for me. And if I can show people that you can still compete at a high level, you can still lift heavy weights, you can still wake up in the morning and feel energized, you can still eat beautiful tasting food, still do it all plant-based without that aspect of the, killing another living being or causing some pain and suffering, then why not? I'll just do it. And so I just do it, and I don't talk about it too much aside from when the question is asked. But yeah, for me, it was just trying to decrease the amount that I would, the impact that I would have on other living beings, other sentient beings on the planet.
Yeah. It's a good way to be, like, especially educating. I went plant-based for 12 months, but I had no idea what I was doing, and I was hungry every day, and I knew I wanted to do it, but after 12 months, I was still trying to play rugby, still trying to do CrossFit, and I was like, I am withering away here. So I gave it up. But
and I totally agree. Like, I think there are really good ways and bad ways to do or pathways to achieve the diet. And, even from my point of view, being omnivorous for 28 years of my life, there were bad ways of eating omnivorous diet. There were bad ways of eating a plant-based diet. It's just how you navigate them. And I think there's a little bit more complexity involved in navigating a plant-based diet, just because it is not the known thing. It is not the most well-known diet or lifestyle way to eat that's, just at our fingertips. People know when they're looking for some protein to add to their meal, because people will typically go, where are my carbs? Where are my fats? Where's my protein? And is there some colors on the plate? They're going to give me some micronutrients, as a general rule. When we grow up knowing that, your potato and your rice and your veggies are going to be basically where you're going to find your carbohydrates and your micronutrients. And then you've got your fats, which is, either your nuts or your avocados or your things that are, your healthy fats. And then you've got, your protein, which is easy. You go your chicken, your beef, your steak, your pork, your fish. And they're just easy things to navigate. And they typically have a higher ratio of protein to other macronutrients inside those there. Whereas you go for things like tofu, tempeh, lentils, beans, legumes, those other bits and pieces, those nuts, they're blends of multiple macronutrients, and they're usually not just such a high protein content. They have some protein and some fat and some carbs. And so you've got to try and navigate it in a different way for most people. From what I found, for me, it was very simple, because I'll again get obsessed with stuff, and I just got obsessed with it and figured it all out in, the better part of, a couple of months. And, I just basically went cold turkey. When I pulled up next to a truck at a set of traffic lights, saw all these sheep crammed into a big truck, and I thought, oh, you know what? I don't want to contribute to that industry. I don't want to be paying people to treat animals this way. So I'm just going to not. And then I just went and bought some tofu and some tempeh, some black beans, some pinto beans, and then I was good to go. And just had to figure out some ways to prepare it and to make it taste nice. And that just took some time. And honestly, I feel, in terms of physical feeling, in the way that my body operates day to day, I feel no better, no worse. I feel exactly the same. I don't feel any change there. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that I feel absolutely superhuman and that I can't feel any inflammation inside my body, and I can't feel this, and I feel like I'm recovering so much quicker and I'm so much more oxygenated than I was before, or whatever it is. I don't feel any of that. I feel the same. And I also don't feel lacking of energy. Like, I'm sprightly every day. I'm bouncing out of bed. I'm having a good time. I do get my bloods done maybe like once every year now. I used to get them once every 6 months, and they're always really in check. I've never had to really add anything in. At one point, my iron level was right smack bang in the perfect range for it to be in. But they said, because you're an athlete, maybe you want just slightly higher. So now I take like an iron supplement once a week, like once every 2 weeks sometimes. Like, I don't even really track it. I just have it every so often. But that was really it. But even still, I probably don't even need it. And I'm still getting in enough of the, those typical B12 iron things that people would say you would essentially be missing out on if you're not really doing your plant-based diet well. So yeah, that's the reason why I did it. I did it for the animals, essentially. There wasn't anything to do with, trying to better my nutrition or anything like that. I felt like I was eating a pretty healthy diet prior. This was just more of an ethical standpoint.
Fair enough, man.
Unreal. And it's good content for the viewers, because it's like, I know that documentary come out, I can't remember what it's called, on Netflix. And it was Game Changers. And they were all plant-based athletes, but that's Hollywood. Netflix, it's hard to, you can hear it and you can sort of listen and you're like, oh yeah, but it's really hard to buy in. But to hear it from you yourself, that you've been this way for a few years now and you're still competing and performing at the level that you are, hitting PBs, it's unreal. And it's hard to think that it can be done, but you're a living example.
I think we probably put a lot too much. We probably put too much. We overanalyze these things. I think if you're getting in enough protein for your body weight and for what you're doing and the exercise required, you're getting enough protein per kilo, which is usually for someone who's competing as a strength-based athlete who's also doing endurance at the same time. You get in your 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilo of lean mass, or your ideal body weight, and then making sure you get in, 1.6 to 2 grams of leucine per protein meal. You're going to be probably pretty nailed there. And then just make sure your carbs and fats, I just eat them intuitively, and just make sure that I'm, when I feel like carbohydrates, I eat more carbs. When I feel like fat, I eat more fats. And then I just train. That's it. And then I just train, and then I make sure that I'm sleeping well, make sure that I'm, hydrating well. And then it always comes down to your actions rather than the external factors affecting you. It's like, a lot of people may say, oh, plant-based just doesn't suit me. I usually, or this type of training doesn't suit me, or this, whatever it may be. At the end of the day, you have to pick something that is going to fire you up, something that you feel really connected to, whether that's this type of training modality or this type of nutrition modality. But there's a consensus of what's going to be good and what's going to be bad. So, I think we just, we try and shift the blame to something else rather than ourselves, instead of taking it on ourselves. And I just didn't, that's not my personality. It's just like, if I want to make it work, put a couple of things in place, learn what I need to eat, and then just go from there and make it happen.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Simple.
It's good to hear. All right. You good?
Workout?
Yeah. Now comes the bit where you got to be nice to us.
Okay. Well, I'll give you something that I would love to do.
Okay. Yep.
All right.
This is James Newbury's workout, guys.
Do you guys want a long one? You want a long one?
Whatever you want.
Okay, cool. So if there was a workout that I would just froth, we actually did something similar to this the other day in class, but it is right up my alley. How do you guys go with toaster bar?
Hey man, just
lay it on the table.
Lay it on the table, man. We've had
4 rounds.
Okay, yep.
4 rounds, 400-meter run.
Yep.
15 deadlifts at 80 kilos.
Okay. Women's
weight
would be 55.
55.
Yep. Okay.
Do I be nice or do I not be nice?
No one's been nice yet, so
25 toaster bar.
Ooh.
Alrighty, 400-meter run.
15 deadlifts.
15 deadlifts.
25 toaster
25
bar.
toaster bar. 4 rounds. Time cap? Or just
no time cap?
Okay. 4 time.
Finish it.
Do you have a time for that?
Have you done it before?
I can do it for you guys if you want.
Yeah, for sure.
Please do. Everyone else has. And they've anyway. But I do this. We once a week put this in the class as well. So whoever's listening,
I would roughly say that I would probably get this done in about probably 60, 12, that's 3, 8, 11, 100. It'd be roughly 15 minutes or less.
Okay.
All right.
So we'll put a 30-minute cap on this team. And that's good.
Yeah, feel free to video that too, bro. If you want, send it through. We'll check it on the page.
All right, I'll get it done this week for you.
Sick.
Yeah. How good, man.
Is there before we wrap it up, is there anyone you want to plug? Sponsors, businesses, coaches?
Nah, I'm all good. Nah, that's sweet.
Sweet.
We've spoken enough about the boys and fiber.
Yeah,
and,
nah, we're good. Nah, we'll keep this educational. I didn't plug anything.
Yeah. Perfect. Hey, thank you so much for this, man. Honestly, I really appreciate it. We said it before.
Big time.
We've been doing this. It's the 5th episode, and sixth episode, and no one has said no yet. And
Perfect.
Jake Douglas said the other day, he says that most CrossFit athletes are aware that they're famous to a very niche crowd, and they don't want to come off as being big time. So we really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right. Well, they say that you're in the top 1% once you hit 20 episodes. So get to 20. Then
Sick.
What are you doing tomorrow, man? We'll get
do another one. Let's just keep going.
Awesome.
I love it.
Hey, we might try to track you down when you're in New Zealand. Say what's up.
Absolutely. I'm down for it. Let's do it.
Sounds good, man.
Been an awesome chat.
Thanks, guys.
Very awesome chat.
Thank you, bro.
All right, thank you for coming on, bro.
All right, man. Catch you later, eh?
Catch ya.
Bye.